I'm really happy to be here and introduce you to Kayla Silber tonight. Let's give her a little warm welcome. Tell us why we're here. Tell us a little bit about
We're here
you.
to experience something really, really new. So I'm an augmented reality artist. I've been doing that for about 7 years. And I'll walk you through a little bit about what I've been working on, and I'm going to introduce you to something that I created that's pretty new, pretty innovative. It's an augmented reality children's book. So I'm going to show you the book and walk you through the journey. It's been a really, really beautiful spiritual process, and it's ongoing, and it's creating me as I create it. So I'm here to share what that's created in me, and also to inspire, and just hopefully it sparks something within you.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Kayla and I met a few years ago on a sailboat through some mutual friends, and then after that we just kept bumping into each other all over town, and I've been to some of her incredible art shows. So Kayla, could you tell us a little bit about how you got started?
Right, so I would say about 6 or 7 years ago, and I'm going to speak a little about plant medicine here, since we're all familiar with that world. And I was having a real creative block, and I did an ayahuasca ceremony with the intention of releasing that block. So I was hoping some big vision would come through. And what I got instead of a vision was a voice in my ear. And it said, your only job is to bring beauty into the world. And I thought, well, I've been overthinking this, because I was trying to create something so original and something that the art world would accept, and something that they would embrace. And if you approach anything like that, you're not going to make anything that has anything to do with those things. So I thought, okay, I've been really overthinking this. And the next night I started playing, and my art changed overnight. So if you saw what I had been working on before and what I transitioned to, you would be shocked. It's so different. And these feminine entities started coming through my work. I was really nervous about showing women in my work. I think I had some block around embracing the feminine in my work, mostly because the art world is very patriarchal, and I don't know, I just didn't think it would sell, I guess, but I kind of gave up this idea of it having to be commercial. And so I started creating these pieces, and these are two of my more recent pieces, and they are mixed media collage and paint on wood. So I shoot these women, these are all women in my community, and they're mostly working in something in the energy world. A lot of them are sound healers and Reiki. They do Reiki. They're all kind of elevating the feminine. And what happens when here, I'll hand this to you so I can show you really fast. So when you hold up an iPad to these paintings, you can kind of look through the iPad. They completely transform.
Oh, how clever is that?
And they have sound, but I usually don't pair them with sound for events, because I often show them at events. So this is how they all come alive. So this process has taken me a really long time. One of these paintings can take me 200 to 400 hours.
That's marvelous.
Thank you. Yeah. It's unique. It's unique even in the world of augmented reality, because these are little mini movies. So I started making the art that looked like this, and then I saw augmented reality for the first time at a tech show. And I was like, oh my God, I need to learn how to do this. And in true Kayla fashion, I did nothing. For the next 8 months, I sat on it and just waited and waited. And I also was like, I want to do this for my pieces, because I see them moving, but I don't know what to do. I don't even know if I'm a storyteller. I really believed that about myself. And I had an art show coming up. I had 3 weeks before this art show came up. And I'm like, that was a good time to learn. I think I'm gonna learn how to animate. I've got a nice deadline. And I love a deadline. So I looked on YouTube And I started teaching myself how to animate, and within 3 days, it was like plugging into the Matrix. And all of this, it was like I always knew how to do this program. And even when I look at what I've done, the work I've done in the past, I'm like, this is a mess. If anyone saw this, they would be horrified at the back end, but it works. And within the 3 weeks, I had animated 3 pieces, and it was the first time anyone had seen augmented reality in LA, one of the first times. And overnight, it was like I wasn't an artist, and then I was an artist. Everyone kind of was like sending it and sharing it. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even want to be an artist. That was too hard. I didn't want to be an artist. But here I am, and I'm an artist. So I thought, okay. And this work was really the only thing I wanted to do. It was really hard to even focus at work. So I started working on this stuff at work and on the side and at home, and I took it really far, really fast. So that's been the last 6 years. And then I was kind of hitting a wall this past year with it, and it's like, well, where else do I take this? I feel like I have a lot more to say. And I'm not sure I'm saying all of it with these paintings, and they're not reaching enough people. But in my mind, I thought, well, what do I do? And I didn't know, but I went to a Kundalini retreat with one of my best friends. Her name's Lindsay, and she convinced me to go. And in that retreat, something definitely opened up in me. It was like I was showing up for myself a little bit more. And I came home and I was like, something's activating, something happened, I don't know what. And this was, I think, December. This was right around my birthday, so it was December 26th. And right on my birthday, I posted a piece, one of my first pieces that I had posted in a long time on Instagram. And this was after the October 7th attacks, and I'm Jewish, and I didn't really know how to engage with that or what to say. I wanted to say something so badly because I was seeing this flare-up of anti-Semitism. And I didn't want to get caught in the melee. I didn't want to go down the toxic stew of all the Instagram stuff, but I was like, what can I say that's really from my heart that will make people understand what the Jewish people are? So I posted a piece, and it got more views for me personally than I've ever looked at any of my pieces, because every time I looked at it, it gave me so much peace. And I didn't know why it was giving me so much peace and why it was so beautiful to look at, but it got tons of views. I actually really couldn't believe it. So once I posted that piece, that's kind of where the story of this book begins. And yeah, so I can kind of like start showing you what that is.
Yes, please do.
Okay, I'll show you the piece first. Basically, the piece that I made is about this merkaba. When I wear this around my neck, it's a 6-pointed star. And it appeared in my closet. I don't really remember where I bought it, but I started kind of becoming obsessed with it, and I wanted to make a piece about it. I didn't even know what it meant, to be honest. I was like, it doesn't matter. It's a 6-pointed star. It's kind of like a Star of David, and I'm going to make this piece. So this is what I created. On December 29th, this was a couple days later, I was in a 4-gram mushroom ceremony with Lindsay. Again, she's a ceremony guide. So I'm closing my eyes and I'm going inward and I'm really having a moment, and this beautiful music is playing. And she says, Kayla, do you want to know about the Merkaba? And I was like, well, yeah, since I'm obsessed with it. So she tells me, well, she reads from this book and she says, this is the soul's journey. This is a symbol of the soul's journey through life. And she shows me this ancient symbol that had been described by Isaiah, who knows when. And the piece that you're looking at in the center is a picture from that book. And the piece that I did on the left came from my mind. And I'm sure some of you in here have been on 4 grams of mushrooms before. But the moment I saw that image in the center and realized that I had basically created it in a new way, I was like, am I Jesus? Like, what's happening? Like, really, like, felt very connected. Like I was really pulling something from source. And in that moment, this self-doubt that I had, that was holding for so long that I didn't even know that I was holding on to, completely broke. And I knew that I was so connected, and whatever the truth is, I knew that I had a direct connection to it, and that it was kind of my job to keep leaning into that and not be afraid. So the other thing that was happening in this ceremony was that there was this beautiful music playing, and I kept saying, what is this music? And there was a line in the music that said, "When she is ready, not a moment too soon." So all of this is happening at the same time, and I'm thinking, I'm ready. Whatever this is, I am absolutely ready. And I think that was December 29th. And then on New Year's Day, I was at a friend's house for brunch, and there was a woman in there, and she's a fairy. She lives in LA, and she dresses up like a fairy for kids' parties. So I'm talking to her, and on the wall, in my friend's house, I'm seeing a rose pinned to the wall. So I'm looking at the rose, and I'm looking at this fairy. And I was like, Sarah, I want to put you in a book. I want to use the rose as a narrative structure, and I want you to be the protagonist, and I want to do a children's book. And so this is all coming out of my mouth, and I hadn't even thought about doing a children's book before. And as I'm looking at the rose in the wall, I'm remembering a dream I had 10 years ago. And in that dream, I was holding a book. It had a rose on the inside cover with poetry. I don't remember what it said. I just remember there was poetry all around it. It rhymed. And I remember each page was a rose that came out at me 3D. And it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And in the dream, I was like, who made this thing? What is this thing? But this was before I knew how to animate. So I had no idea what I was looking at, but I knew that it wasn't physically possible to make a book like this. But somebody made it, and it was me. And I've held on to that for so many years, because as I started making three-dimensional art that kind of comes alive, I was like, I feel like I'm approaching what that dream was, but okay. And I after that mushroom ceremony, I actually sat down on my computer to try to find where I wrote it, because I knew I wrote it down. And I could not find the entry to save my life. I did all these searches for it, and I couldn't find this entry. But it didn't matter. I knew enough about it to know what I was going to create. And as I'm about to sit down and write, I grab my phone to start doom scrolling, because that's what I do. As soon as I start to get productive, my brain goes, no, we're gonna waste 3 hours on Instagram. And right when I picked up my phone to look at Instagram, I see an ad, and it was like, you're wasting 22 years of your life on Instagram. Literally, that's what it said. And in that moment, I was like, thank you for that. Shut down my Instagram, put a block on it immediately, and within 10 minutes, I wrote the entire plot to this book. It came right through. I've never written really a story before, and the story that came through was really special. And it was about a rose. It was about a fairy that uses a rose to travel from her world to our world. And she gets stuck in our world through a series of misadventures. And so a snowstorm comes, kills the rose, and there's one rosebud left that she has to get to. And she's got to get this rosebud to open. And she sees a little girl walking, and she can't get her attention. The girl's too far away. So it's really up to you, the reader, the child, and the parent, to come together to do a series of exercises that help get this rosebud to open. And we know, a rose, you can't make a rose open. It's going to bloom when it's ready, but like between you and me, there are some things you can do to make it go a little bit faster. And those things have to do with self-worth and appreciation and gratitude and mindfulness. So it was this really, this story came out, and I'm like so excited about it, because I was like, I think I figured out what I want to do with my life. I think I'm gonna write these books. And I tell my sister the next day, we're on the beach, and she's like, Kayla, I think this is it for you. She's like crying, I'm crying. And in that moment, her dog runs down the beach, and takes a poo like kind of far down the beach, so I had to go chase her. And when I went to go clean up what the mess was, this is what I was surrounded with all over the beach. I literally leaned down and was surrounded by roses planted in the sand. And all I've ever seen on that beach is trash. I have never seen anything like this before. So I burst into tears. And this is what I looked like because I took a picture of myself. Just to remind myself what it felt like to feel a sign that I was on the right track. Like I really felt like this was it for me. I started working on Rosie and Raven truly the next day, and Lindsay came over my house and she said, "Kayla, do you remember that song that was playing in ceremony?" And I was like, "Yeah, the one I was losing my mind to." And she goes, "Do you want me to send it to you?" I mean, this woman, she knows, but she is pretty tapped in. She said, "Do you want me to send it to you?" So she sent it to me. And I looked at the title. I must not have heard this in ceremony because I was so out of my mind. But it said, the title of the song was "A Rose Blooms When She Is Ready, Not a Moment Too Soon." That was the full lyric that I missed. And I'm like, this is the most meta experience of my entire life. What is happening? And from then on, from the beginning, from January 1st to the next 4 months, I was in the most magnificent creative flow I've ever experienced. And if you've ever had a creative flow state, to be in that for 4 months is pretty astounding. And to drop out of that is also an astounding fall. But I knew that what goes up must come down, and then there's the just gestation period of a book and a story, and then there's the ushering it into the world and raising it and figuring out where it goes. So basically, this book is this adventure through mindfulness, and you read it with your parent that's going to kind of guide you through it. So you do need the physical book. That's really important. And the goal of this was to promote reading, while at the same time understanding that kids are really tech savvy, and that's a really beautiful way. They're going to be using tech anyway. And if you want to use the tech, you can, and if you don't want to use the tech, you absolutely don't have to. It's still going to be a really lovely experience, but to activate these animations for a child, when they see it, it's pretty amazing reaction. So this is the reaction that people generally have when they see my work, like you guys experienced. And my goal is to have these kids' faces was really, really special. So the mission of this is that, and I'll just read it out. When I was 4 years old, my mother used to do visualization and manifestation exercises with me. And those early explorations into spirituality deeply influenced my path as an artist. My distinctive style of augmented reality art creates mesmerizing and magical experience for the viewer. And this innovative approach to storytelling allows me to deliver tools for spiritual growth in a fun, engaging, and totally fresh way. This book aims to recreate the beautiful and connected experience I had with my mother when I was a child and plant the seeds our tech-savvy kids need to grow into healthy, mature adults. 2 months ago or so, I was trying to figure out how I was going to because in the animations, there are rhymes, and I thought, maybe I'll hire a voiceover actor that has a really lovely English accent, and it'll be like a fairy godmother character that's going to be speaking. So it was late at night, and I was searching for tracks to put to this so I could get the vibe of, because I want to sound design it too. And what was so cool about this process was I was discovering things about myself, like I can write poetry, and I can sound design, and I can tell a story, and I can create like a linear experience. I did not know any of this about myself before I started writing this, but just saying, okay, I'm ready, let's have it, and it gave it to me, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. I can do it. I don't know how to do it, but I'm gonna do it. So at that time, it was about, 2 a.m., and I'm like looking for tracks. And I find a couple, and I start to speak the poems. And then I thought, why am I speaking it? Maybe I'll just sing. So I started to sing, and now I've created 4 original songs, and I'm singing them in the book. So it's become this like little musical experience within a book. And that's been super fun, because I always really wanted to sing, and it's something that I haven't really let myself do in public that much. I just really do it in ceremony sometimes, and then in the shower, and That's really the only time I let myself sing, but I really let myself do that here. There's so much beauty all around, and if you rush, you'll miss it. A rose contains a secret world that you can always visit. As you grow, you might forget the tiny, lovely creatures. Nature is a wonderland that holds our wisest teachers. Sometimes snail is sad, he's slow, it really gets him down. He thinks about how hard life is and wears a constant frown. But in the snow and wind and rain, he looks on the bright side. On his back's a sturdy home that he can hide inside. A little trust when you are moving through the dark. But the secret is, my love, you are the light and spark. So practice focusing your mind on what you can control. The power of imagining will help you reach your goal. Choosing words more carefully will help you shine so bright. Whether you say I can or I can't, the truth is that you're right. The things that you believe about yourself are what is real. No matter what the others say, your words will seal the deal. Thank you. So Raven, this character, she emerges from her little cocoon as a butterfly, and now she has wings. So that's the story. And each of these exercises, this one, as I was mentioning, my mother did this with me, just holding a light in your hands and learning visualization. This one, the power of words, this is a really important one for me. I mean, I wrote all these for myself because I need to hear this stuff as much as anyone else. So I really wrote it for me. I can get a little negative with myself, or a lot negative with myself, and I've been working on my language and how I speak to myself. And I'll just read this one to you so you can kind of hear what it sounds like. But the final door to fairy world's the hardest one to crack. The secret is to love yourself. It's how to stay on track. Words are simply magic spells you might not know you're casting, and what you say about yourself can have a way of lasting. The words we choose can have the power to make our dreams come true, but use the wrong ones and we can create a nightmare too. With home in sight, it's time to learn to choose our words with love. So give yourself 3 compliments or 3 things you're proud of. So you do that with your child, and then you can activate the animation, and it's a lovely interactive way to spend some time with your child and connect with them. And yeah. So as far as the process goes, what I did was, in all of my art, I use photography. I use my photography, and I cut it up into little pieces and reposition and collage, and basically turn things that are kind of ordinary into otherworldly, extraordinary things. So now we get into AI, and I was terrified and excited by AI. I I knew I needed to learn it because it's coming for us no matter what. And I was a little bit nervous to embrace it. But as I started creating this book, I realized I can use AI to do exactly what I want, exactly what was in my brain. I have never experienced anything like this in my life. The way I'm able to use my inspiration, prompt it, and then do the exact same technique that I've been building for the last 6 years, which is cutting apart and pasting and repositioning. Instead of taking the photographs now, I'm just generating what I want. And it is a long process, so this is not quick and easy. But what I did was, because I wanted it to look like an illuminated manuscript, you can see on the left was my inspiration, and then I outputted all of these frames and flowers and all of these imagery on the right, and that's just a snippet. I've got hundreds of these things. And I would just take them apart and use like a little bit here, a flower there, and then build it up from there. So every illustration is created the exact same way that my art is, but now I have total creative control. But it also introduces an element of randomness that I have never been able to do with my art, because all of this is so meticulous, even every paint stroke is planned. But with AI, it'll give me some really beautiful moments, and I'm like, wouldn't have thought of that, thank you. And I cut that out and use that, and it's really been a way to play off of this thing that is playing on me. So I input, it outputs, and then I input that, and it re-outputs. So it gets closer and closer to myself. To create the fairy, this is the fairy. I actually shot her. So when she flew out of the flower, I actually shot her against a green screen and used a different AI program, an animation program, to change the way she looked a little bit, because I really didn't want her to be so realistic. So this has just been a crazy process of trial and error and learning. And the really cool thing was, talk about divine timing. I think it was midway through the process I had created this character, and her name is Raven. And I created her, and I was like, I don't know how to make her again, because with AI, it gives you something, and that's it. It's a one and done. You can't duplicate it. It's very random. So that week I thought, how am I going to do this? I'll figure it out, because I figured everything else out in this book. I'll figure it out. I believe it'll happen. I went to a roof party that night, and I start talking to this guy, and he goes, hey, did you hear about Midjourney's latest update? And I was like, no. And he said, it's a character reference update. You can create a character and duplicate that character. And I thought, oh, thank you. That's almost too easy. Thank you very much. So I went home and played with it that night and was able to duplicate that character. So now I have her. And what's really, really cool about that, and you can see here like the millions of iterations that I did to sort of get the illustrations to look the way I wanted them to. But here was what really crazy. This is me as a little girl on the left, and that's the character. And I had no idea. So that's the character that came through that I was like, oh, that's the one. Once I honed her and kept outputting, I was like, yeah, that's her. That's what I want her to look like. And my mom was looking at the book, and she goes, that looks like you when you were little. And I was like, really? And I found that picture, and I went, you've got to be shitting me. That is really cool. Like, because this is me. This book is me. It's my journey. It's my soul. It's where I wanted to be as a child and where I want to be as an adult. I want to be in this world. And I really was able to find my inner child by creating this book, by playing, by showing up, by not worrying really about even who was going to like it. I honestly didn't really care, because it was just so much fun to create it. I have read it to children. They had really beautiful reactions, but this one's really cute. This is my 3-year-old nephew, and he's too young for it, so I just wanted to see what he would do. It's really sweet. It's so cute.
Mommy!
Look at that. It's in the book. Look at that world. Look at that. It's hidden in there. It's like, just super sweet reaction, and these girls really loved it too. So it kind of is for all ages. I think it might be more for adults, but that's okay. Adults are the ones that are buying it, so if it's for them, then I'm okay with that. And that's Rosie and Raven. Thank you.
So what a process.
Yeah.
How has that influenced you, and has it changed you in any way? What now? How do you feel now?
Well, I've had a really hard week. We had a family tragedy 2 days ago, so I'm barely keeping it together. And there's a lot in this book that I've been using to buoy myself up through this process, specifically the part about gratitude, because life can be taken in an instant. And I keep coming back to that. It's very heavy right now, what I feel. And it can be useful in really heavy moments, and it can also be useful in really light, stupid moments when I'm like annoyed, that something isn't quite the way I want it, or I get cranky about something, and I'm like, in my mind, I think, sometimes snail is sad, he's slow. It really gets him down, and I think about the rhymes in the book, and they get in my head. And it helps me kind of instantly change my attitude, because I'm the one that wrote it. So, I have to live it.
They're like mantras.
They are mantras. And because they rhyme, they stick. Right. I remember all of them. I remember them almost immediately. So the other thing it's done for me is it's allowed me to find things within myself I did not know were there, specifically creating songs and pushing myself into creating this thing that I did no research on, to be honest. I had no idea how to do it. But it was just like, just keep following, just keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other, and you'll find it. And that's also in the book. It takes a little trust when you're moving in the dark, but the secret is, my love, you are the light and spark. Thank you. And it's all about lighting up your own self. And you might not know where you're going, but you know where to begin. And that's all I had when I started creating this book. Begin here. And I don't know where it's going, but I'm speaking to you now. And I saw myself doing that when the book came into my mind. I was like, I want to speak. And now I'm speaking. And who knows where this goes, but even the speaking and the, coming into this new version of myself, I couldn't have done that without sitting down and getting off Instagram for 5 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny. So you mentioned your ayahuasca journey at the beginning. And I think that a lot of people echo this sentiment of, when you have a psychedelic experience, you learn how much power you harness. And a lot of people say, it's the plant, it's the psychedelic. But no, it showed you what you were capable of. It lights up the road in front of you. And the other thing that I think is so interesting is that with these psychedelic experiences, we have something to integrate, right? Not just in the few hours that follow our psychedelic experience, but for our whole lives. This creative process, it seems like, has been integrated into your life. There have been lessons and changes and shifts.
Yeah.
Have you created another piece like this? Or what are your pieces looking like now?
I haven't made another painting.
Okay.
I have only wanted to live in book world. And I want to make another book. So I started doing another one, and I kind of know what it's going to be, but the whole idea that got dropped into my head, it didn't get dropped as clearly this time. So I was like, oh, you're really going to make me work for it this time, because I feel like I barely had to work for the first one. I only had to execute it. So I was like a puppet. And I had strings, and I was like, I will do it, whatever you say. And now I'm like, oh, okay, now I gotta sit down and show up and go through the process, which is great, because I had to spend so much time learning everything to create this book that now I know how to create it. And now I'm like, oh, now I have to learn how to create an idea from scratch. So there's that. But I'm really excited to make another painting. I'm feeling ready to create another piece of art. I don't know what that will look like. But it's going to be cool, because I've learned so many AI tools and so much new technology. So who knows? It's going to be cool, though.
Does that feel exciting to kind of innovate with your art?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I'm not so concerned about innovating with the technology as much as I am innovating with the storytelling because everyone's can do technology. There's a lot of people that know technology a lot better than I do. And, they can make things jump off the page and geolocate and be in 3D. And I'm like, that's cool. But I don't know if that's necessary for the way I want to tell a story. So I only do what's called for to tell the story. And if it's very simple, what I've done is very simple, but it's effective. So if I need to learn new technology, then I'll learn it. And if I don't, then I'll just keep pushing this. Yeah.
There's so many criticisms about AI and these like tech innovations when it comes to the creative process. But I feel like you're an amazing example of how we shouldn't be so critical, because you have used it in such an incredible way, and you are still an artist through and through, and you're using it as a tool. Yeah. Did you have any mixed feelings about it in your process?
Yeah, I had a lot of mixed feelings about it when I first started, but as soon as I input some of my own work into it, and I output something, and I was like, okay, I think I've experienced what it feels like to be the creator, because it was such an expression of me, what had come out. And I thought, wow, like this is what the creator must have felt like when a human had its first thought and it created that human, whatever that is. And it was like, whoa, look at what I made. Right. And that's how I felt when I first saw the thing that it came back at me with. Because in my work, you can see, like, I actually generated all of these individual pieces with AI using a prop that I had already made, like a silvery prop that I had made, to create all of these individual pieces, and then I composed them to create that. And when I saw what it was giving me, I was like, God, this looks like me and feels like me. It's just better. It's just like the best thing I can imagine. And as I started to work on the book and I started to do these animations, I mean, at one point it even gave me like a point of light in the animation, and I wanted that, but I didn't tell it to do that. And it put it there, and I was like, what? That's where the things were coming through it. So it's weird, but because AI is a collective consciousness, it's our collective consciousness, it doesn't surprise me at all that my own consciousness is in there too.
And it's learning really, you with time.
It's learning,
too.
Yeah, it's learning. So, and I also think that like what goes in, you got to put in the beauty, because if you let other people do it, like that's what's going to come out. And if you want to influence the way that goes, like we have to be constantly like feeding it beauty also.
There's so many messages and I feel like lessons behind all of this. So, I mean, what is your ultimate message as you start to circulate with the book and talk to people and present it? What lessons do you want to share?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is, as I'm going through the process of trying to find the book a home, and however it goes with publishers and agents and whatever resistance I get, and there has been resistance because it's really new and people don't quite know what to do with it yet. So it doesn't quite fit into a prescribed genre. And, it's like, oh my God, I think I have to believe in this book. Like, I can't let them tell me what it is. And whatever I have written, like, I have to be that. There's no cheating, there's no shortcut. You just have to show up and do the thing that that you're asking others to do, and that's the only way like forward with this. So my biggest thing that I want to do is be the thing, embody the thing that I've created, and I don't know what that looks like yet. I would love this to be a bestseller. I would love to make a ton of money off of it. I would love for it to support me, and I would love this part to be easy, but it's not easy. And they said being an artist was easy, but it's not. Yeah.
In our conversations, you've mentioned how there's a deep message in the book, and it seems like you hold a lot of responsibility to embody that message, like you're saying. So not just, talk the talk, but walk the walk.
Yeah.
And I think that there's an opportunity here. I told you about this book that my mom read me when I was a child. And this book wasn't just beautiful. It wasn't just the illustrations, but it was the message. It was me remembering how my mom got emotional reading it to me. And that stayed with me. And here is something that reminds me of that, because it's, at first glance, it's a children's book. But is it just a children's book? It's a beautiful work of art. There are lessons. It's a bonding experience for parent and child. It's something that they will both remember. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that you're right. It puts the book into its own category, but I think it's exceptional.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely an experience. It's not something that you will read to your kid and be done with. It's not a quick read. But there are moments in here that I think will, if they don't stick with the child, will definitely stick with the parent, because everyone can relate to this. The story is, we get it. Like, we know what this journey is. And it's definitely a metaphor for, the bigger picture of how to adjust your perspective and the small things you can do. And I think as adults, we forget that too. So if we can remember and then explain it, to the child. And then there are these really cool little animations that are so fun. And the kids, even if they're not understanding the words, because there are some big words in there, and I'm not assuming that children are stupid. I'm assuming that they're smart. And if they don't know the word, I explain it. But the animations are fun, and they watch them many times in a row because they're fun. So something's going to stick. Something's going to land, even if it's that exercise that my mom did with me when I was 4. I remember that. And I created this. So I don't think that's a coincidence.
No.
That doing that with your child fosters that deep-rooted spirituality that can help you bloom as an adult.
For sure. And I can see children reading it at the age of 6, reading it again maybe at the age of 12, reading it again later on, reading it to their child, and just having a different appreciation and relationship with it at all these different stages. So I think it is really incredible. And what I also love is this divine feminine theme that is across everything that you do. And I don't think it's a coincidence that you have a good relationship with grandmother ayahuasca. So can we talk a little bit more about that? Do you think that this is something that you want to continue to weave into your art? Will your next book be, around the theme of femininity?
It will, even though the next character will not be a girl, it will be a boy. But that doesn't matter, because boys have feminine aspects as well, and it's really about the feminine aspect in life. It's about nature, reconnecting with nature, and becoming more receptive versus chasing and striving. So there's an energetic that I want to elevate that has not been in the conversation enough, or it's been denigrated and looked down on. And I want to show that not only is it really important, but the way that I created this book is so feminine. I literally showed up and said, "I'm ready, I'll take it." And it was like, "Yes, you are ready." And it gave it to me. And then I just had to create it and magnetize everything that came through that. It's about magnetizing versus hunting down. So there's something about being rather than, of course there's the doing, but you do when you have to. You don't do to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And the rose, too.
The rose is the most feminine thing there is. It's so beautiful, and it's got these thorns, and that's the woman. Like, she's so beautiful, and it's intoxicating, but it's also there's danger, and
she's protected.
And she's protected. Yeah, she is. So the rose itself, I never really appreciated a rose until I did this book. And my friend on Mother's Day, she was wheeling over a pot, and she was calling down to me from my balcony. And I was like, "What does she have?" A huge pot with a stem. And she goes, "I brought something for you." So I helped her bring it up the stairs. "What the hell?" She goes, "I brought you," it was on Mother's Day, and she goes, "It's a rose bush." She goes, "You birthed a book." And I was like, "Oh my God." And it was just a stem. It had no roses. It had nothing. And I was like, "I don't know what this thing is." She goes, "You have to water it every day." I'm like, "Okay." I water this thing every day. You would not believe the roses that came out of this thing. I have never seen roses like this. Every color of the sunrise, from yellow to bright fluorescent pink to red. I mean, they went through every phase, blowing my mind every day, and then just falling off. And then the next one would come, and I was like, "This is only for me. No one else is seeing this." And it doesn't stop them from being insanely beautiful. But I'm the only one seeing it, and it doesn't matter. They don't care. They just do what they do. And the coolest part about that rose bush was that I never would have picked that rose bush. I would have picked the ones with the bloomed roses, the red, the ones I could see. And I got this rose bush. I didn't know what it was. And I think that's what's happening with the book. Like, people don't know what it is yet. And I think they're going to see when it gets out there. But I'm like, of course they don't understand it yet because it's that. It's just a stem. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think you did an incredible job of describing fully to everyone what the book is about. And I think the book needs you as much as you needed it.
Yeah.
And I think we were also talking about this. It's bigger than the book, right?
Yeah.
It's bigger than the book. And I think there's a message that people need to hear. And I think that a lot of parents might look at a storybook and just say, cool, it's a really awesome book for my child. But I think it'll help people realize the power that something like this holds. And hopefully really open hearts, expand minds like you have with your work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing with all of us.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. We'll open up to questions now. If you have questions for Kayla, I can pass the mic around. Anybody have anything they want to ask Kayla? Yeah?
So with becoming a writer and like a short storyteller with these messages and themes and values you have, has it changed like your lifestyle and the way you try and find these messages to implant them into the book?
That's a really good question. Yes. The way that the original messages came in to my brain were really, it came really out of nowhere. And now, especially with the way this week has gone, there's something there. There's definitely something there, and I'm viewing it in a kind of a new way. And maybe there's a story there. Like, I'm thinking that, I can use all of this, everything. I started looking through my journal. I've kept a journal since I was like 20 years old, and it's got 650 typewritten pages. And let me tell you, there is embarrassing stuff in there. Like, it's bad. It's really bad. Oh, it's incredible. I'll do a dramatic reading of it one day and just then hide away for the next 10 years. It's really terrible. But the way that I process that stuff will definitely have new meaning for me now, because everything can be a message, everything can be a lesson, and it's all about how you see it and how you integrate it. Because in the past, I never really saw it that way, but I'm definitely seeing it more and more now, and I'm finding a lot of stuff in my work that I didn't know was there. Having gone through this process, I look at my old stuff and I'm like, oh, wow, there's a teacher in there. So. Yeah, and now I wish I were the kind of person that would just show up at my, Stephen Pressfield or Rick Rubin show up at my desk every day at 9 a.m. and start writing. And I do as I say, not as I do, because I do not do that. That's something that I would like to do more of, is like have a routine with it. But inspiration is a crazy, magical thing.
So I have three simple questions.
Yeah.
One is, can you buy this?
Yeah, so I haven't released it yet, but yes, I'm just.
Can I buy 4 of them? I mean,
I'll take.
I'm an entrepreneur, right? So that's how I think.
Cool. Yes.
I have grandkids who would like to see this.
Yeah, I would love your grandchildren to see it. Yeah, we can talk. I can even. I could probably make you some to have. They're not. So I'm still working out some of this. I'm still changing some of the storyline, and I'm finalizing my music, so it's not released yet. But as soon as it gets released, then yes. Can sign up for my mailing list, and I will. Yes, you can. On my website, you can sign up for my mailing list, but I can also get your information and reach out to you directly.
So the second question is, it's very novel and original. I know 3 or 4 kids book writers who are very frustrated with how static books are.
Yes.
Right? And so, have you thought about giving a seminar? And I'm not saying for free, but I mean, hosting seminars to show people and to share your story and to
yes.
do those kind of things.
Yes.
It's just fantastic.
Thank
it's really
you.
a new genre.
Thank you. It is, and I think that's why it's getting pushed back from an antiquated world.
No, I don't think so. I think it's getting. It's so egotistical.
Yeah.
The problem is it's not a book.
Right.
It's an experience.
Right? And so
Right.
you say you want to sell this book, and they go, well, it's not a book.
Right. Fair.
So you got to You got to do,
think about what it is.
It's
Yeah.
Like a storybook is kind of redundant.
Right.
It's like an active book or an AI book or
it's
or
something
an
else.
animation or an interaction or something. But it needs a different kind of a title.
It does.
Yeah. It's not a book.
Right. Thank you for that. It's not.
It's not.
Yeah. It's not. I have to figure out how I'm going to position it. I honestly, I thought this thing would, I'm not kidding, I thought this would like position itself because I saw the whole thing so clearly. And as soon as that was done, I was like, Jesus, take the wheel. Like, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm driving a stick shift. And Jesus is nowhere in sight.
But your story is so inspirational, right? It comes from the heart, right?
Thank you.
And I can see you inspiring other storybook writers. Children's, they call them children.
I would love to do that, and I would want this to be a genre. I would love this to be something that other writers want to do. I would love to help them with that, and I also had thoughts about making a curriculum out of it for kids that maybe don't have exposure to art classes, or maybe aren't that they just don't have it. I'm specifically in more disadvantaged areas where maybe they have a computer but they don't have like art classes, and when they can see what they can do with their ideas, I would love to show them.
Right, and your deal is integrating left and right brain.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, because the artists that I know who do storybooks, they're inspirational, but they don't like to get into that.
The weeds.
Or the technology, right?
Yeah.
And you've done a fantastic job.
Thank
really,
you.
Just remarkable.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk. Yeah, we can talk more because I'm good at that stuff. I'm not great at the business side or the marketing side, and I definitely would love someone to step in and help me figure out what to do with this. But it wants to come out, and the timing is bananas. Like how it all happened. I'm like, it's definitely now. Couldn't have made this book a week earlier.
Yeah, but the issue is that as you explain your story, each time there's a signpost, right?
Yeah.
From the muses or from the divine or from ayahuasca, whatever the hell you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
And so they're still there.
Oh,
you
yeah.
just have to be aware of it.
Oh, yeah.
And that path is complete, right? So you just...
Oh yeah, there was one right there.
Yeah. Right? I mean, it's really fascinating.
Thank you so much.
It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
I want to ask you about the flow state, the creative process. A lot of people talk about getting into a flow with psychedelics or plant medicines. Other people alter their states using other rituals and practices that don't involve psychedelics or plant medicines. Can you talk about what gets you into a flow state? Do you have a ritual? Have you discovered new rituals? Is it psychedelics? Is it meditation? Is it seeing other art? Tell us.
So it was really cool because this book came out of a meditation, and I hadn't meditated in a really long time. And I sat down to do the meditation. That's actually why I opened my journal to start writing it, because I sat down and I did a meditation, and I felt something on my left side. And I've never experienced anything quite like this before. And I started crying out of my left eye. And I thought, oh, something is definitely here. And I felt really good. And something was with me. And I said, what's your name? I've also never done that, but somebody told me to do that. They were like, oh yeah, ask the name. And I was like, all right, I'll try it. And I didn't hear anything, but I saw two black wings fluttering like this. So I immediately was like, Raven. I don't know where that came from, but it was Raven. It's like, cool, her name's Raven. And then when I sat down and I started writing the story, which I did not know that I was gonna write, I realized that the main character's name was Raven and that she was me. I didn't know she was me until, I knew it, but I didn't really know it until I saw that. So this book definitely came out of one sit-down 20-minute meditation. But generally, the way that I get my inspiration is that I'm a complete channel. So I'll meet women and I'll actually see things around them. I'll feel things from them. And I'm like, I want to put you in a painting. And when I do, I don't know how this happens, but I'll pull things from them. Like I'll pull their personal story from them and I show it back to them and they're like, whoa, why did you put that in there? I'm like, I don't know. Some of the stories I have are really remarkable and super connected, but it just happens to me. So I'm a little bit psychic in that way. And that's when I'm really into it, when I get excited, I can't do anything else. I did this book. I like, even when I was out with people, I was in this book. So that's what that felt like. I was in a state and I was always in it no matter where I was, even if I was at the computer or not at the computer or whatever. I was always in this world of creation. And when I'm dancing, I can see imagery and I know what things are supposed to look like. I see full animations. But the coolest part is when I first started, I saw nothing. I saw nothing. I didn't see one speck of a moving thing. And that's where it's come. I see them fully now. So they didn't just come in like that. Like, you'd have to dig.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Thanks.
And you're an awesome singer.
Thanks.
You should sing more often to the public.
I
You have a beautiful voice.
Well, the little girls were so cute because she's like, she goes, "Did you sing this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Wow." Like that. And then she goes, "Can you sing it to us?" So I sang the book to them while I was sitting with them. And I was like, this is the best moment of my life. Like, this is really amazing.
How does
Yeah.
it feel to step into different creative realms like that? Does it feel very natural? I know you talked about having fear and not wanting to sing outside of the show, but once you've stepped into it, how does it feel now?
Well, now I kind of have like a fuck it sort of thing about it. Whereas before it was always imposter syndrome and I can't do that because other people do it better. But now I'm like, yeah, but like they do. But can they do, if they, like, is the sum great, is it greater than the sum of its parts? You can do one thing, but like, if I can put all these two things together, then I can do it in a way that they can't. So doesn't matter if someone's a better singer.
No, it's can they do it like me?
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
'Cause
Like,
only
can they
you are
say
you.
it like me? Can they do it like I'm doing it? And I think that's a really good message for anyone who's like trying to figure it out. Cause it's like, yeah, sure. It's been said. Everything I've said in here has been said, but they didn't say it like I said it. Right. Like, that's how I said it. And it'll land with kids and people that like, it has not landed with them before. It landed with me. I needed to see it like this.
That's authentic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that breeds authenticity
Yeah.
and creativity. It's
Yeah.
very clear.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah. And it's the culmination of your human experience.
Yeah.
And that's only yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, guys.